Mirror, mirror on the wall, Star Trek Discovery is the greatest of them all. Okay, it's not the greatest of them all, obviously. Star Trek Generations is, but this is a fantastic series. It started out really weird. Pardon me. Fantastic. Really loved that final episode as well. I mean, mid-season finale. Really, really good. They had it all. Cool guys walk away from explosions. They had the Klingons and the fantastic kind of transition into the mirror universe, which isn't really the mirror universe. It's another dimension. It's an alternate dimension, and I love this is a bad trip. This is what will happen if you have one too many trips, that one. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced trip on mushrooms before, but I mean, you can feel like I've done so many trips, man. I am like the king of trips or whatever, the queen of trips. I'm the trip master. But that one last trip might just fracture your universe or something like that, and you'll end up in this kind of alternate dimension. And that's really kind of deep sort of level that they're sort of kind of on Star Trek, and it's the discovery, and it's such a good show. It's such a fantastic show. I love it. Absolutely fucking love the show now. I'm really getting used to the tone as well, and the characters. I'm starting to really like the characters. I like how the bridge crew, they don't really sort of interact. They're just sort of in the background, but they're all kind of listening, nodding along. Because obviously, as in the original series, like the Ents, like Wesley Crusher was like part of the team, and it's like, shut up, Wesley. But the ensigns are ensigns. They're sitting at their desks. The captain speaks. They turn around to listen, and then they get back to their work. But I suppose that's a sort of modern day take on the military aspect of what it is to work on a ship and stuff like this. So I really love that. I'm loving the openly gay relationship in that show. It's really done well. It's not done in a kind of what's the word I'm looking for, cliche and glib way. It's two people who are in love, and this sort of journey for them of like how their duty must come before their relationship, and the strain it puts on the relationship, and the sacrifice that you have to make in a relationship to make it work, and the emotion as you're watching it. Like, I had like a lump in my throat as I was like watching. It's like one more jump and I was like, oh no, it's all gonna go horrible wrong, no, he's gonna die or something. And he's not dead. He's like in some kind of like coma, right? He's in some kind of like alternate dimension coma where he can see. So like what I reckon is his mind is in another dimension. They're in between dimensions, and his mind is sort of like seeing both dimensions at the same time, and his mind is not in one or the other. It's kind of fractured maybe, or it's dissociative, because obviously he didn't make the full jump, so he didn't jump from one reality to another, like a wormhole. He got stuck in between, so his mind is stuck and they're stuck in between, and his mind is incapable of being able to exist in two places at the same time, and yet that's exactly what's happening. So you've got this kind of like dissociative. Oh, it's great. The mental health, like that. How you can ignore your mental health and hope that it will go away, but eventually it will catch up with you, and it will just be that the straw that broke the camel's back, and it won't be necessarily anybody's fault. It won't necessarily be your fault, it won't be anybody's fault, it would just be the thing. But that the kind of scariness of being stuck in the Mirror Mirror universe is very real. In the oh gosh, you know, in the original series they had Mirror Mirror universe, and in DS9 and in you know, Star Trek Generations, I mean even Voyager, I'm not sure if they did one in Enterprise, I think they did, but that series was so forgettable. But Discovery is definitely not a forgettable series. This is an awesome series. And yeah, it's not just kind of like we're in a Mirror Mirror universe. It's like the effects on the person's mind. Because, you know, what if you take those mushrooms? What if you take that LSD? And what if you take that, you know, acid or whatever, and you go on this trip? What happens if you get stuck in this alternate dimension? Everybody's going to think, you know, you're dead or something like that, or they're not going to be able to communicate with you properly, and you're going to be talking nonsense and rubbish, and people are just going to be like, what's going on? I don't understand what he's saying. And it's scary because I don't know if anybody's actually experienced anything like mushrooms and stuff like that. So maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But it's like, you know, it's like traveling across space and time, and if you sort of get stuck, how do you get out? You know? How do you get out of a trip that you're stuck in the middle of? You know? It's one of these things that's so scary. Oh, you know, like in Voyager, for example, when they did the time travel, like time travel's always been my like weird thing, where the captain of the future time force comes back in time to destroy Voyager because he realizes there's a time anomaly. I can't remember the name of the episode now, but it's a 2-part episode, and it was all about Voyager going back to Earth, but back in time. And the captain had gone back years before, 10 years before, and everybody just thought he was just a crazy homeless tramp. But he's actually like the captain of a USS, a starship, a future ship as well, you know, like super genius. And he's like, everyone thinks I'm crazy in this reality. You know, what happens if you get stuck out of time? What happens if you take those mushrooms and you end up being stuck in your own head, stuck in your own reality? And that's something I've faced. That's something I'm still facing, actually. I'm still facing this kind of thing in my head where half the time I'm not sure if I'm actually still... In fact, I know I'm not. Like, sometimes I wake up and I feel like I'm in the Mirror Mirror universe, because I look at my life and I just think, how has it become like this? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why my life is so fucked up. And it's so crazy because, you know, everybody else is so incapable of being able to understand what each other feels like from our different perspectives. And he's like, I can see all of everything, but from everybody else's perspective, all they're seeing is like this kind of rambling man. But from his perspective, he must be seeing something completely different. You know, like a sprawling network of stars and dimensions and things like this. And for everyone else, they're just seeing a kind of vegetable sitting there, kind of going blah, 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 blah. And it's what happens when you get lost in your own head. What if you don't come back? You know, what if you just end up being stuck in your own head forever? And that's a scary principle. That's a scariness. So that's fantastic, the way they're tackling the kind of mental health issues. They're tackling the ethical issues really well, the morality. I love the way that fight scene was so fucking funny. It was just so over the top. I loved it. It was just a callback to the old Klingons. And even when she did the translator, because I was fed up of listening to the Klingon accents, the Klingon voices. I thought, do I really have to listen to the whole freaking series like this? But, oh, fantastic. And then, you know, they sound like the Klingons from the original series, like the way that they speak, you know. And I can imagine them calling them a Patak and stuff like that. And just get that in where watching the show isn't such a chore. You can just kind of sit back and like listen to the Klingons talking rather than having to read subtitles, you know. Especially because Klingon's a made-up language, it's not a real language, so there's no reason to subject people to this like completely fabricated language that doesn't exist, except in the course the minds of people who created it. There's no need for it. Just speak English, like, you know, do the whole Klingon. You're nothing but a Batak. Yeah, really good. Kind of slow start, confusing start, like the way that it was like jumping from one thing to another. The character of Burnham was a bit like, I'm not sure really like where they're going. Like, she seems to be the main character, and usually it's the captain who's the main character, right? Or at least there's no specifically main character. Like in a Star Trek episode, like one week you might have had Riker, the next you might have had, you know, Troy, you know, Worf would have his own standalone episode. You know, everyone had their own standalone, but Burnham seems to be like the main character. So maybe they're going to move away from that now, and maybe they're going to do other characters too. I don't know. Oh gosh, that scene, that scene in the I love you too. But I thought, are they gonna do I love you? I know, like the Han Solo kind of thing. I know. Oh gosh, it's fun. Fucking great series. Loving the special effects as well. Flawless, fantastic. Yeah, I think anybody who is still stuck on this whole the Orville is better kind of thing, like I don't really feel like they're kind of true Star Trek fans, to be honest. I watched one episode of the Orville and I just thought, this is you know, what's that fucking show called? I can't even remember. Oh fuck. Oh, it was some shitty show about people. They were like, you know, scientists, but they're not, you know, it was like then they get the girls and stuff like that, and then it's just really, and it's like all about college students. It's the sitcom basically. It's a sitcom in space, and that's not what Star Trek's ever been. Star Trek's always been like a social commentary, and this is like a kind of like sitcom, like, oh, my relationship with my wife is broken. Oh, well, we're gonna spend the whole series kind of like, hey, I love you still. Hey, I love you still too. You know, and it's just like, but set in space. And I sort of like one episode of it, and I was just like, you know, I think it's more for people who are sort of, you know, unwilling to move on, and, you know, who are stuck in the past. This happened with Generations as well. When Generations came out, you had loads of people going, it's not like the original Star Trek, it's shit. Remember when it was like a romp through space? By the end of Generations, everyone was like, Generations is the best. And then Deep Space Nine came out, and everyone was, no, like a real Star. I was even one of those people. With Generations, it wasn't like that. Like, because I grew up in the 90s, so like Generations was my thing. And, well, I mean, I watched the original series growing up in the 80s. Like, every Sunday would be like Land of the Giants and, you know, Star Trek and Lost in Space and oh gosh, well, Mission Impossible, all of those fantastic programs. But yeah, I mean, sort of stuck in my own world here. This is my own mirror universe where I'm stuck on my own, stuck in my own head. It's kind of horrible, but that's life. Just gotta deal with it, I suppose. And even though nobody can really fully appreciate what's going on up here and in here, you know, I do. I have to be my best friend. And we've got like this new Star Trek, and it's like I remember Voyager. I remember, that's the thing. Burnham was like, I'm not, everyone goes home. And I was like, yes, Burnham, go. Like, it was like Voyager all over again. It was like, I'm going to get everybody home. I'm even going to go back in time and make sure I get everyone. Like, no one's going to die on my ship. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to die on my watch. I love it. And Burnham is just one of these characters who, like, grows on you, and it's fantastic, and I love it. I'm really enjoying the series, and I think the characters are well written. I like the way that it takes these issues seriously. Like in the original series, it was very serious. It had funny undertones, but it was very serious. And there had some like real social commentary, like having Uhuru on the deck of the bridge of the flagship of the Enterprise was a big step forward. Having, George Takei, who, didn't really come out as gay for a long time, but everybody kind of knew, to Captain Picard, doing the Dalmok and oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name of Dalmok and Tanagra. What is the fucking name of that? I've got to Google that now. I can't believe I'm such a bad Trekster. Such a bad Trekster. What is it? I've got fucking holes in my head. That's the problem. From all of the mycelium jumps. What is it? Dalmok. Is it Dalmok? And Jalad at Tanagra. Yeah. Dalmok and Jalad at Tanagra. That was so good. That was such a good episode. That was such a fantastic episode. But all of it was just fantastic. Like William Reich. Oh my gosh. Me and my friend, we used to talk about the DS9 episode where the chief was sentenced to life, like 70 years in a mental prison, and it was over in like 2 seconds. And like the beginning of the episode is him waking up, kind of going, and the doctor going, "It's okay, chief, it's over." And he's like, "It was real to me. It was all real to me." And like then the rest of the episode is him in that cell on his own, just like drawing that mind map over and over again, and you're just like, fuck me, that shit is intense. That's some fucking shit intense stuff going on. And it's like, yeah, man, that's the kind of Star Trek that I love about Star Trek. The odd episodes, they were the really kind of cool episodes. Like all of a sudden, you'd have like a funny episode, and it would be a little bit what was it? I think it might have been the regression episode, but it was just such a funny episode. And Captain Picard was the holodeck episodes, mainly was the holodeck episodes, like they'd end up in some kind of 1920s charade. But it was this one bit, and Captain Picard came running, like walking into the medical bay, and then he like hopped onto the desk and he was like, "Beverly, I love you." And it was just like, those are the episodes that are like really quirky, really fun. And then like next week is like the Borg threat. This is a very real kind of threat to society, to the Federation sort of thing. And Discovery is just doing it really well. It's just doing it so well, and it's doing it as good, I'd put it right now, on par with DS9. Absolutely on par with DS9. Just simply for the Klingon conflict as well. But for the writing, because DS9 was quite dark and quite warlike as well. A break away from the exploration of space. and of course this is like the exploration of like the inner mind as well. It's exploring not just the outer space but the inner space, and like all of the problems that come along with that as well. So it's incredible. I love it. It's amazing, and I am enjoying this so much. It's a fantastic show, but not really interested in the Orville. Not really my cup of tea, I suppose. It takes itself like I don't care. I don't know. I've heard a lot of arguments as to why the Orville is so good, and I guess I just don't have like a Rick and Morty IQ to understand it or something. So yeah, I mean that's just everyone has their own taste, I suppose. So it's a good way of talking about things, I suppose. What else did I like about the series so far? There's 9 episodes and they're all quite memorable, you know. Oh, that last episode with the time skip, and that was such a fun episode with the guy. I've got a bad memory. I've got holes in my head. It's terrible. But the trader. See, Google is my friend. The trader from Star Trek. He's got such a memorable name as well. See, I just can't remember. It's just that's it. Mud. Mud. How memorable is that name as well? Mud, and I just completely forgot. It's because his name is more than. That's it. Harcourt Fenton Mudd. Harcourt Fenton Mudd. I can never remember like his name. Harcourt Fenton Mudd. Your name is Mud, boy. That's a joke from way back as well. Anyway, so my review for Star Trek Discovery compared to Star Trek Enterprise, for example, I watched about half the series of Star Trek Enterprise, dropped it, went back to it a few years later after the series had finished airing, and I kind of binged watched it, and it was one of those kinds of like I forced myself to watch it because I kind of felt like I had to as a fan, and I didn't enjoy it. It was a very forgettable series. There was some good parts in it. The time war parts of it was kind of okay, but I kind of got fed up with Archer. I kind of got fed up with the whole Takal or whatever her name was. Google is such a fucking amazing. I don't know what I would do without you, Google. Who was it? T'Pau, wasn't it? Yeah, it's T'Pau, isn't it? T'Pol. Yeah, I got fed up with the whole romance between Trip and T'Pol. It was boring after a while. I guess I just couldn't get into it. I like the Doctor. Yeah, there was. And looking back on it, Hoshi and Plox, there was some good characters in that show, and it had this kind of inkling of it could have been a good show, but the writing wasn't in it, and there was some good episodes, but as a series on the whole, it is the worst series. It's absolutely on the bottom. Star Trek Discovery is definitely the next best series. It's definitely above Enterprise. It's proven that within the last 9 episodes that it's better than Enterprise in every way. Then I would put DS9. And I'm a heretic, because then I love Voyager, but I would then put Voyager on the third. And I would simply just put the tier. I always put the original series as the first and the best, and the original. It's the best series. Generations was phenomenal. Voyager was brilliant, but it didn't compare to Enterprise. I mean to Generations. The Enterprise, it had Picard, it had Riker, it had Troy, it had everyone. So that's why I put Voyager at third, and that's why I'm a heretic, I suppose. But then it's DS9, then it's Discovery, and then it's Enterprise, and that's the top. That's mine anyway, my ranking. I'm sure people disagree with this as well, the ranking in particular, because I have heard people saying that Generations is better than TOS or something like that, and it's just not. Or that Voyager is better than Generations, or that Deep Space Nine is better than Voyager, and it's just not. It's just not. Voyager was just an amazing series. I love that series. I've got I at least have one series of the box set. I think I've lost them though now. Sad, but true. Anyway, I collected them on VHS. That's how good they were. And yeah, it was a fantastic series. I loved it. What else? Discovery is fastly becoming one of my most favourite Star Trek series there is. It might, in my opinion, depending on how they actually played out the show, it might surpass DS9, but that would be a push. DS9 had, I think, 9 series or something like that. DS9. Yeah, I think, how many? 8 it says. How many series of DS9? 7? Really? There was only 7 series of Deep Space Nine. That doesn't seem right. I'm sure there was more. But I don't see why Google would lie about that. It just, I mean, that series was great. The way that they ended it was really terrible, but other than that, Deep Space Nine is fantastic. So it could be that, depending on the writing, it might be Discovery and DS9 have a little bit of a competition. Enterprise is in the trash, as far as I'm concerned. It's never coming out of the trash. I didn't like the series. But I suppose a lot of people right now are sort of saying that the Orville is better than Discovery, and that Discovery's the worst series, and that Enterprise was better than Discovery, and I don't really kind of get along with that kind of thinking, because I don't like the Orville and I didn't like Enterprise. So, if you're that kind of person who likes the Orville and the Enterprise, then that's, kind of, I don't really feel like we can agree on that, because I don't think that's that's not how I feel about it. What else am I thinking about the I know that there was more series than that. So there were 7 series of Voyager as well. Huh. How many series of Generations was there again? I actually have Generations downloaded. So I could. Actually, just go into I want Google to tell me though. Tell me how many seasons there are of Generations. That's not right. It's saying 7. It can't be 7. I fucking know that there's not. There's more than fucking 7 series of Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Generations. This Google's fucked up then, hasn't it? Star Trek. Star Trek. Star Trek TNG complete series. Season 7. Fuck. It felt like it was longer. So 7, 7, and 7. 3 sevens. That's crazy. And the original series only had like 39 episodes or something like that. That's really weird. How many Star Trek series? That's pretty crazy, isn't it? There was 4 series of Star Trek Enterprise, 7 of Voyager, 7 of Generations. So 7 is the magic number. Let's make it 8. Let's push Discovery to 8. That would be cool, wouldn't it? But let's see how it goes. The first series so far has been really good. I think that the way that they do things these days, back then it was, we've got Star Trek, people are going to watch it, people are going to pay for it no matter what. But now in today's model of business, it might not be that they're like, oh well, we're definitely going to have a season 2, but you know, we'll see season 3, season 4. I mean, Star Trek Enterprise got 4 series and got cancelled. So yeah, we shall see. We shall see. I'm enjoying it. I really love it. Definitely up there. Yeah. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Love throughout the nation. Right then. I shall see you lovelies later. Goodbye.